There's a financial threshold that changes everything, and most people never hear about it. The $30,000 rule. This is the point where you have 6 to 12 months of living expenses saved, giving you real financial breathing room for the first time in your life. It's not enough to retire, it's not financial independence, but it's the moment when money stress begins to fade and options start to appear. At $30,000 saved, job loss isn't catastrophic. Emergencies don't destroy you, and you can finally think strategically instead of reactively. Most people spend their entire lives living paycheck to paycheck, never reaching this threshold, which keeps them trapped in financial desperation forever. I'm Kyle, and today I'm breaking down why $30,000 is the most important early milestone in wealth building, what changes when you hit it, how long it takes to get there, and what you need to do differently once you cross this threshold. If you're grinding toward financial stability, this is the target that matters most. It's the foundation everything else builds on. Let's dive in. Here's the core concept. $30,000 represents true financial stability for the first time. Below this threshold, you're vulnerable. Any unexpected expense or income disruption can spiral into debt, eviction, or financial ruin. At $30,000, you have a cushion that absorbs shocks without derailing your life. This amount typically covers 6 to 12 months of modest living expenses, depending on your cost of living. In a lower cost area, $30,000 might cover a full year. In an expensive city, it covers 6 months. Either way, it's enough runway to handle job loss, medical emergencies, car repairs, or any crisis without panic. The psychological shift is profound. You move from survival mode to stability mode. You're no longer one emergency away from disaster. This doesn't mean you're wealthy, but it means you're no longer desperately poor. You've crossed from financial fragility to financial resilience. The $30,000 rule is the foundation of all wealth building because you can't invest aggressively, take career risks, or pursue opportunities when you're constantly in survival mode. Stability first, growth second. Here's why $30,000 changes your psychology. It eliminates constant financial anxiety. When you're living paycheck to paycheck with zero savings, every day carries low-grade stress. You're worried about the car breaking down, the water heater failing, losing your job, getting sick. This chronic stress depletes mental energy, reduces decision-making quality, and keeps you trapped in reactive survival thinking. You can't plan for the future when you're constantly managing the present. At $30,000 saved, this anxiety evaporates. You know that if something goes wrong, you have months to solve it without catastrophe. This mental freedom is transformative. You sleep better, think clearer, and can finally shift from defensive to offensive financial strategies. You're no longer avoiding disaster, you're pursuing opportunity. Research shows that financial stress impairs cognitive function equivalent to losing an entire night's sleep. By reaching $30,000, you're literally improving your brain's ability to make good decisions. The confidence that comes from having a cushion compounds into better career choices, relationship stability, and long-term planning capability.
Quick pause. They say money doesn't bring happiness. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comments.
Let's talk about how to reach $30,000. If you're starting from zero, this feels impossible, but it's achievable with discipline and time. First, calculate how much you need to save monthly. If you want to hit $30,000 in 3 years, that's roughly $833 per month. In 2 years, $1,250 per month. In 5 years, $500 per month. Choose a timeline based on your income and expenses. Second, treat this savings goal as your first bill every month. Automate the transfer on payday before you can spend it. Third, cut ruthlessly to free up cash. This isn't forever, it's a temporary intensity phase to build your foundation. Eliminate subscriptions, reduce dining out, downsize housing if necessary, sell unused possessions. Fourth, increase income if possible. Side gigs, overtime, freelancing. Every extra dollar accelerates your timeline. Fifth, put this money in a high-yield savings account, not investments. This is your emergency fund, so it needs to be liquid and stable. Sixth, resist temptation to spend it. This money is insurance, not lifestyle funding. Track your progress monthly and celebrate milestones. Every $5,000 is a victory.
Here's what the timeline looks like for different income levels. If you earn $40,000 per year and can save 20%, which is $8,000 annually, roughly $667 per month, you'll hit $30,000 in about 3.5 years. If you earn $60,000 and save 25%, which is $15,000 annually, $1,250 per month, you'll reach it in 2 years. If you earn $80,000 and save 30%, which is $24,000 annually, $2,000 per month, you'll get there in 15 months. The math is simple, but requires discipline. Most people never reach $30,000 because they don't maintain intensity long enough. They save for 6 months, then splurge on a vacation. They hit $10,000, then buy a new car. Every setback resets progress. The winners maintain obsessive focus until they hit the threshold, then shift strategies. They understand that reaching $30,000 is a sprint, not a marathon. Temporary sacrifice for permanent stability. Once you cross this threshold, you can ease intensity slightly and shift focus to investing in wealth building. But until then, every dollar matters. Let's address the psychological resistance. $30,000 feels like an impossible mountain. I'll never get there. This mindset keeps people stuck at zero forever. The problem is focusing on the destination instead of the process. You don't need to see the entire staircase. You just need to take the first step. Instead of fixating on $30,000, focus on hitting $1,000, then $2,500, then $5,000. Each milestone proves you're capable and builds momentum. The second mental block is, I'll start saving after I pay off debt, get a raise, or finish this project. This is delay tactics disguised as planning. There's never a perfect time to start. Start now with whatever you can afford, even $50 per month. Small actions build into big results. The reframe, $30,000 isn't a mountain. It's a series of small hills. Every month you save $500, you're climbing one hill. Do that 60 times and you're at the summit. The people who reach $30,000 aren't superhuman. They're disciplined about doing something small repeatedly until it becomes something big.
Here's what happens if you never build this foundation. You'll spend your entire life vulnerable to financial shocks. Every emergency becomes a crisis. Car repair forces credit card debt. Job loss means eviction. Medical bills spiral into bankruptcy. You're constantly in reactive survival mode, making desperate decisions under pressure. This keeps you trapped in a cycle: emergency, debt, high interest payments, less money to save, another emergency. You never escape. The stress compounds into health problems, relationship strain, and diminished career performance. Employers can sense desperation, which reduces negotiating power and promotion potential. You're stuck in bad jobs because you can't afford to quit and search for better opportunities. Meanwhile, people with $30,000 saved can take career risks, relocate for better opportunities, negotiate aggressively, and weather setbacks without catastrophe. The gap between those with and without emergency funds widens every year. By 50, the person without savings is broke and stressed. The person who built the foundation decades earlier is financially secure and peaceful. Let's compare two people starting at age 25 with the same income. Person A never prioritizes building $30,000. They spend every dollar earned living paycheck to paycheck for decades. At 30, they have zero savings. At 35, still zero because emergencies keep resetting any progress. At 40, they have credit card debt from handling crises without savings. At 50, they're financially fragile, stressed, and trapped in jobs they hate because they can't afford to leave. Person B makes $30,000 their obsession from age 25 to 28. They save aggressively, live cheaply, and hit the goal in 3 years. At 28, they have stability for the first time. This allows them to take a career risk that doubles their income. By 35, they've built $100,000 in investments because the foundation allowed aggressive wealth building. By 50, they're approaching financial independence. Same starting point, same income initially, but person A never built the foundation and stayed broke forever. Person B spent 3 years of intensity building stability, which unlocked decades of prosperity. The $30,000 threshold was the difference between financial disaster and financial success. Here's the advanced strategy. Once you hit $30,000, don't stop, refine and optimize. First, segment your emergency fund. Keep $10,000 in a high-yield savings account for immediate access. Move $20,000 to a slightly less liquid but higher yield option like short-term CDs or money market funds. This optimizes returns while maintaining accessibility. Second, establish a replenishment rule. If you tap into the emergency fund, immediately shift back to accumulation mode until it's fully restored. Never let it drift below $30,000. Third, upgrade your target as income grows. If you get raises and your lifestyle expands, recalculate. Maybe $30,000 now needs to be $40,000 to maintain the same security level. Fourth, shift focus to investing. With $30,000 saved, you can now aggressively invest additional savings. Your emergency fund is complete. Additional capital goes to wealth building. Fifth, use your stability to increase income. Take calculated career risks, negotiate harder, pursue side ventures, all possible now because you have a cushion. The $30,000 isn't the end, it's the launchpad for everything else.
Let's talk about obstacles. I can't save anything. My expenses equal my income. If you're truly at that point, you have two options: cut expenses or increase income. Most people have hidden waste, subscriptions, convenience spending, inflated housing. Audit ruthlessly. If cutting isn't enough, increase income. Take a second job temporarily, sell possessions, freelance. This is a temporary intensity phase. I have debt. Should I save or pay it off first? Split the difference. If you have high-interest debt, allocate 70% to debt payoff and 30% to emergency fund. You need both simultaneously. What if I need the money before I reach $30,000? Use it, then rebuild. An emergency fund exists to be used. Just commit to replenishing it immediately. $30,000 feels arbitrary. Why not $20,000 or $40,000? The exact number matters less than having substantial months of expenses covered. Adjust based on your situation, but don't lower the bar just to feel accomplished faster. The goal is real security, not psychological comfort. The people who reach $30,000 and build from there share specific traits. They treat savings as non-negotiable. It's the first expense, not the last. They live below their means intentionally, even as income grows. They're patient but intense, willing to sacrifice short-term comfort for long-term stability. They track progress obsessively, measuring every dollar saved. They resist lifestyle inflation completely during the accumulation phase. They're comfortable being boring. No flashy purchases, no keeping up with peers, no status signaling. They celebrate milestones privately, but stay hungry publicly. They viewed $30,000 as a starting line, not a finish line. Once they hit it, they immediately shift to wealth-building mode, investing aggressively because the foundation is solid. By their 30s, they have financial options peers don't have. By their 40s, they're financially independent while others are still paycheck to paycheck. The difference was 3 years of obsessive focus on building the foundation. They understood that stability unlocks everything else. At the core, the $30,000 rule is about crossing from financial fragility to financial resilience. Below this threshold, you're vulnerable to every shock, trapped in survival mode, unable to think strategically. Above it, you have breathing room, mental clarity, and the ability to pursue opportunities instead of avoiding disasters. This isn't wealth, it's stability, but stability is the foundation wealth is built on. Most people never reach this threshold because they lack intensity or consistency. They save for a while, then splurge. They hit $10,000, then reset to zero. The winners maintain obsessive focus until they cross the threshold, understanding that temporary sacrifice creates permanent security. Start today. Calculate how much you need monthly to hit $30,000 in your target timeline. Automate that savings amount immediately. Cut every expense that doesn't serve this goal. Track progress monthly and commit to not touching this money except for true emergencies.
Tell me in the comments, how close are you to $30,000 and what's your timeline to get there? This is the foundation. This is the stability. This is where financial freedom begins. Let's build it together.
If you stayed until the end, you're clearly serious about improving your finances. Subscribe and help us reach 100K. And before you go, watch this next video. It could be exactly what you need for your financial journey.